Help, I'm pushing up.
Rotate.
Bruno, they're rotating back. They're rotating back.
They're gonna go. Just rotate, guys. Just rotate. Give it up. Nice. Rotate.
Greetings and welcome to episode number 8 of the Rotation with ZHack. I am stoked to talk some CDL today, and I hope you guys are ready to listen because I have a plethora of topics that we're going to cover today. But before we hop into that, make sure you head over to Twitter and give me a follow at ZHack16. That way you can stay up to date with when the podcast is going live and all that good stuff. And also, send me some questions, send me some topics to cover on the rotation. I would love to interact with you guys, get your thoughts on what's going on around the Call of Duty League. So let's go ahead and have a community, have a chat about it, and get things rocking and rolling. Other than that, just make sure you share the podcast with friends, family, anybody who likes Call of Duty. You know we're live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. It's the Rotation with ZHack. Simple as that. Now, without further ado, I'm done ranting because we have a big show scheduled for today. Let's hop right into some First Blood. And my take for today, it's an age-old mantra and saying that we've heard for years and years. Time flies when you are having fun. We are already 1 week away from the Stage 2 Major. The second $500,000 tournament of the Call of Duty League season is here. We only get 5 of those in champs. We have to slow down as a community and admire everything that we're watching. We've seen craziness ensue on the map week in and week out. Roster changes, teams competing and busting their asses to be the best in the league. We've already made it this far, and it's crazy to believe that the Stage 2 Major is already upon us. There's a lot of things that some teams have to do. We have to see a lot of adjustments made. There's been a lot of shocking storylines with teams making roster changes. Some have paid off and gotten dubs, like you look at the Minnesota Rocker and the London Royal Ravens, and some have not worked. I gotta say it, no Zinni, no Winnie. The Toronto Ultra, they're still working with Insight, and he's performing really, really well. But I love to see all these teams make changes early on in Stage 2 in preparation for the Major. We have no idea what is going to happen. There is one thing that is consistent, though, and I'm going to wait until we talk about the Barracks news and notes around the league to bring up this topic, but I'm hinting it to you guys. There is one thing in the Call of Duty League that is consistent as of now heading into the Stage 2 Major. One thing I want to see as we head into the Major, this meta that we're still talking about, it's got to get set in stone. We just saw it in the challenger scene. EU and NA, we're GAing the QBZ again. Like, we're having meta changes right up to the Stage 2 Major. This is not good. I know it's not going to be too big of an adjustment for teams because we're going to have the Krig and the AK-74U meta, but we have to figure it out. I mean, like, after this, I don't know if this is going to be the last meta change. We just had a big update, and the patch notes, they make the Milano look like it's going to be something special. I don't know if the CDL is going to get to that point as we head into the Stage 2 Major, but we're going to have to figure it out regardless. Like I said, time flies when you're having fun. We're already in the final week of Stage 2 before the Major, the final home series. Like, it is here. It is now. We are in the present. We have to figure some final things out. And us here on the Rotation with ZHack, we have to talk about some things as we head into the Stage 2 Major. We got a lot to chat about today, folks. That's my First Blood take. I'm excited for the Stage 2 Major to be here, but I'm also a little bit worried if we're in a good spot to be competing for $500,000 with where the meta is, what's going on with all the roster changes, and if every team has it figured out. To dive more into that, let's hop in to the Barracks news and notes from around the league. The first thing that we have to talk about, and I hinted at it in my First Blood take, there is one consistent right now in the Call of Duty League, and that is that FaZe are gross. The Atlanta FaZe, they're the best team in the Call of Duty League. You can't tell me otherwise. You cannot make an argument with me to make me believe anything else. The Atlanta FaZe are perfect on the season. They are 11-0. They have 155 CDL points. They won the Stage 1 Major, and they have a 35-9 map record. They are the best team in the league, and nobody has come even close to competing with the Atlanta FaZe. Their roster is comprised of some of the best talent that we've ever seen all time. Their coach Crowder knows what he's doing, and he's immersed himself in the culture of the team, and it's rubbed off on all 4 players. Like Arcides, Simp, Celium, and Abizi, they just have fun to play, and these guys have every right to be cocky when they play. We see them shooting bodies and assassinating the final opponent when they 3-0 the LA Thieves, and guess what? They have every right to do it. At this point, I'm questioning if the Atlanta FaZe are even having fun playing Cold War anymore. Nobody has even put up a big fight against them since maybe OpTic in like week 1 of Stage 1 when it went the distance, but FaZe smoked them 6-1, 6-0 in the Search and Destroys. Right now, heading into the Stage 2 Major, I don't see anybody beating the Atlanta FaZe. Like, they are breezing through the Call of Duty League, and all these teams that are making excuses, we're online, we're having challenges with this, we're figuring this out. You can't make any excuses. Like, the Atlanta FaZe have the same variables that you do in playing online, the same servers, the picks and bans. Like, everything is the same, and they're just smoking you. Like, I don't want to hear any other excuses from any other team. Like, all other 11 teams in the Call of Duty League have to figure it out. They need to figure out a way to compete with the Atlanta FaZe because they're getting hype in series against each other, and they're like, hell yeah, that was so insane. We just went the distance, round 11, in Search and Destroy, map 5, and we pulled out the dub, and then bam, you go and get 3-0'd by FaZe. Nobody is even competing with them. We thought the Dallas Empire had the best chance to take down the Atlanta FaZe in the Stage 1 Major. They had 2 cracks at them and got smoked both times. In the winner's bracket final, they got hammered. And then in the championship match, FaZe just cruised through it. They started shooting bodies. They tried to assassinate Crim 6. And now fast forward into this past weekend, they did exactly that to the rookie Venom. Poor guy, man. Poor guy Venom. You could see he's like trying out of his mind to clutch this last control round, and FaZe are just having their way with him. They get the assassination, they humiliate him, make him just look like a complete noob, and it's just embarrassing for any other team to try and compete with the Atlanta FaZe at this point. Somebody needs to figure out how to stop them, and I don't know what teams are going to do. Like, I don't know what the strategy is to beat the Atlanta FaZe. You have to watch hours of VOD review, perfectly strategize and counter everything they're doing, and on top of that, you have to outslay them by 1,000,000. Because when FaZe get their backs against the wall and their strategies are breaking down, that's where their skill comes in. And they start to win pivotal gunfights, get back in position, and can adjust and make a move against you and ultimately win a map or a series. I don't know what teams can do to take down the Atlanta FaZe, but like I said, they're disgusting, and I'm not picking against them until somebody exposes them. I don't see it happening anytime soon. Like in my pick'em, all the way through Stage 1, all the way through Stage 2, and through this Stage 2 Major into the championship match, until somebody beats the Atlanta FaZe, I'm not deciding on anybody to take them down. Like, I'm crowning them Stage 2 champions until somebody gives me a reason otherwise. I don't think that it's going to happen. Like, the teams are shuffling so much right now in the standings, and teams that were incredibly great in the first stage and through the early parts of Stage 2 are beginning to get exposed. Like, we thought Dallas were one of the best. They're showing cracks in the armor. We thought OpTic were incredible, and they were going to give FaZe a run for their money. They've gotten 3-0'd back-to-back matches. The Rocker make a roster change, and all of a sudden, they're competing and beating top teams. Seattle are starting to win. London Royal Ravens look good with Paul X. Like, if all these teams are just getting good enough to beat each other, nobody's going to beat FaZe. Like, if they're all focusing on just winning their current matches and climbing the standings, guess what? The final boss is there, and they haven't shown any weakness. The Atlanta FaZe are damn near perfect. Like, look at the statistics that I brought up to you a second ago and just slow down and realize how mind-boggling this is. The next closest team to the Atlanta FaZe are the Dallas Empire, who have 4 losses on the season. They are 11-0, the Atlanta FaZe are. Then you look at the map count, they've lost 9 times on the year. The next best are the Minnesota Rocker. They have lost 19 maps on the season. That is absolutely incredible when you put it into perspective. Like, you cannot deny the fact that the Atlanta FaZe are having a Hall of Fame season as a team, as individuals, like MVPs all around. The Atlanta FaZe are the MVP team of the season, and their players are most likely going to be the MVPs. Like, Abeezy is putting up stats, numbers on numbers on numbers. It's the same thing for Simp. Arcides is finally starting to step into his role. It's just incredible what these guys are doing. I've had enough scratching the back, massaging the shoulders, patting the back of the Atlanta FaZe. Like, plain and simple, the take is they're incredible. Somebody needs to stop them. I don't know who it's going to be. The next thing I want to talk about, I kind of touched on it when I was speaking in my first blood take. Like, we have to figure something out heading into the Stage 2 Major. The meta is bouncing back and forth once again. The QBZ has been GA'd in the NA and EU Challenger scene, and typically it follows suit into the CDL. We've seen it throughout the year. When something happens in the Challenger scene, it's just a matter of time until the CDL adapt it. We saw it with the M4 or the XM4, whatever you want to call it, and now we're seeing it again with the QBZ. The QBZ was working as a hybrid. We saw it pretty much every match. Like, it wasn't taking over and dominating maps, but we did see players use it, and it was sort of that flex gun as we've seen the Maddox in the past in Black Ops 4 and the K-Bar in Infinite Warfare. Like, that was the QBZ, that was the XM4, and the players in the league, they just can't decide on a good flex gun. It's kind of switching roles for players and ruining things, and instead of having that flex opportunity where you can run that hybrid weapon, your flex position is having to decide whether they're going to run the Krig or the 74U. So the flex is more of a role thing than it is a gun thing. We've seen a couple of teams step up there, and I think the biggest one to look at are the Minnesota Rocker. They get Standy to hop in. They can move Priesta into that role, and he's been frying lately. Like, that is one of the roster changes that made the biggest wave on the season in the Call of Duty League. And I think with the meta shifting and shifting and shifting like it has time and time again, it benefits teams like that, and we're seeing it with the Minnesota Rocker starting to finally win series and compete in respawns. With that being said, we can't continue to have changes headed into the Major, headed into champs, and for the future of the season. We need to figure something out. I think we're shifting towards just seeing a Krig and 74U, but as I say that, we're having complaints about the 74U and attachments and how it's frying. Now the Milano gets buffed. We don't know if that's going to come into fruition. The MP5 has seemed viable when I've seen some guys testing it out and scrimming and when I've used it myself. So we really don't even know what the meta is going to look like for the future, and it's kind of disgusting. We have $1 million league and we don't even know what we're using. I get it, the first stage, we have a learning curve, and we're figuring out what we're playing with and how the league is going to work. But into the Stage 2 Major, I think after this, that's the cut line. Like when you see in professional sports, you have the trade deadline where it's like, all right, after this, the rosters are set. You can't make trades, can't pick up free agents, you can't do anything like that. Like the team you have, it's set in stone. We need that in the Call of Duty League. Like after the Stage 2 Major, we need to have a meta deadline. No more GAs, figure it out. You have through the Stage 2 Major into Week 1 of Stage 3 to figure out, are you GAing this? Are teams able to use that? Are these attachments allowed? Is this submachine gun going to be used? Will there be a flex gun? We need to have a meta deadline in the Call of Duty League because we can't keep changing throughout the league, because what it does is it switches up what teams are good and competing on the highest level. Because we saw it throughout stage 1. Some teams were really good and competing with the XM4, and some of them were shocking us. Now we've seen through the first couple of weeks with stage 2, when we've had the QBZ, Krig, and 74U, there have been different teams who have stepped up and shown out. Teams can't learn and continue to get better with the meta and climb the ladder and climb the ranks if they don't know what they're going to be playing with. Us as viewers and spectators and the casters in the Call of Duty League and even teams don't know who's going to be good, what to watch out for, and what strategies to implement against certain teams if the meta is ever changing. We got to figure it out eventually so we can have something set in stone and we can all be on the same page. Bring us a meta deadline. Get us a sheet of paper that says this is what we're doing after stage 2 for the rest of the season through champs. That's what I need to see. That's what I have to see. And I feel like everybody should agree with me. I don't know if that's factual or not, but I mean, I believe that it is. Other than the meta changing up who's been good, who's been bad, we've seen roster changes play an absolutely monumental role through stage 2 of the Call of Duty League. And what I have to say to every pro player on a starting roster is you should be absolutely shaking in your boots, shaking in your gaming chair until expansion happens. Because rookies are getting chances, they are shining, and they are gunning for every single spot available in the Call of Duty League. And as we've seen it, once they have arrived, they have proven their worth. Paul X hops on to the London Royal Ravens. He gets them their first win of the season, and he has been dynamic on the map and made a difference for the London Royal Ravens. A team that was terrible at the bottom of the leaderboard, yet to win a series in the Call of Duty League, bring in Paul X, and all of a sudden they're great. Same thing for the Minnesota Rocker, and I think that the management team at the Minnesota Rocker have been listening to the rotation with ZHack, because I said they needed to show a sense of urgency and eventually bring in a roster change if they didn't start winning. They did that with Standy. They got a lot of flack, and everybody was critiquing them when they dropped Major Maniac and made a role swap where they brought in Standy for the sub and Priesta into a flex role. But guess what? It has worked. They showed a sense of urgency. They made a roster change, and this kid Standy is absolutely disgusting. Everybody who's paid attention to the challenger scene has known that this kid is cracked. Now the Call of Duty League and all the fans who only focus on the CDL, they're starting to learn that as well. Where I'm going with all this, and it's sort of needless to say at this point in time, the rookies are here to stay. The Challengers players are here to make a wave, because I wouldn't even claim these kids as rookies. These young men and these talented phenoms have been playing for years and years, and they've been grinding the S&D wager scene, they've been grinding in 8s, and now since the Challenger scene has been prominent, they've shown up there and have been on the rise. So I don't even want to call them rookies, but these young guns who haven't yet gotten their shot, they're finally starting to have an opportunity, and they're proving themselves. I feel like Simp has been the biggest one who has made a statement in back-to-back championship appearances. We saw him in Black Ops 4. We saw him in Modern Warfare make it the distance. Now we're seeing some more of these young guns make a difference in the league. Paul X, Standy, DiamondCon, Fire. We haven't yet seen Venom do it, but Insight, he holds the record for the most kills in a SND. He dropped 18 with Toronto. These guys are hungry. They want to occupy every single spot that is available in the Call of Duty League. And I think that they will continue to become more and more prominent as teams struggle. Nobody's safe in the Call of Duty League. Roster changes will always be there, and you never know who will be available. Teams have started to underperform what expected, and we could see even more roster changes. Where Paris showed signs of promise through the first stage, now they're falling off a little bit. The LA Gorillas We saw them prove themselves and take down LA Thieves in the winner's bracket of the Stage 1 Major. Now they're having problems. There's a lot of teams that could potentially make roster changes. I don't want to hint it because everyone's going to gun after me and get angry, but OpTic have been struggling lately. The Dallas Empire have shown cracks in the armor. All I'm saying is there's plenty of talent in the challenger scene and on benches in these current rosters and former pros who have been dropped or benched to be picked up. Every single pro player in the CDL should be worried. Methods wants to get back in the league. Havoc wants to get back in the league. Temp wants to be in the league. Hydra wants to have his spot finally. Zaptius wants to get an opportunity. Haggy wants to get back in the league. Spart, Saint, Mox, Nagafin. All these guys have been here before or have shown up in the challenger scene, and they all want to be in the CDL, making that big money, having an opportunity at larger prize pools, and they're not going to stop at anyone. They don't care about hurting anybody's feelings. They want to be there. So every single pro player needs to be worried, and they need to be playing as good as they can because they are not safe. I touched on it with OpTic and how they've dropped their past two series in 3-0s and another 3-0. The one against the Mutineers, it was extremely close. Like every single map against Florida, like it was tight. The control was a 3-2, the search was a 6-5, and I think the hard point was a 250 to 221 or something along those lines. Like they played that match tight. They got absolutely smoked by Minnesota, however. Like that was one that made everybody take a step back in their seats and they were like, whoa, holy cow. We have not seen OpTic get manhandled like that in quite some time, and it's a little bit scary. And of course, with the stage that OpTic are on, with the following that they have, with the fan base that they have built over time, they have caught an insane amount of hate from their fans and everybody involved in rooting for OpTic. I talked about how close the Florida series was. Minnesota, not so much. 250 to 81, welcome to the 100-point club. 6-4 in S&D, 3-1 in control. Standy absolutely popped off in the series as a rookie on his debut against OpTic. He dropped a 1.77 in the hard point. After that, he went mental in the search, 13-4. The kid was crazy. Then you bring him to raid control, a 1.12. He was a difference maker in the series. I digress and go back to the OpTic fans and everything we've heard from them. Listen, I hate to say it, but relax. I mean, seriously, you guys are going nuts. They get 3-0'd back-to-back, and everyone just finds something to throw and just, they fling it at OpTic. Stop streaming scrims. Stop making content. You guys are getting fried because you're not focusing on playing. Settle down. Drop players. Someone get rid of Scump. Get rid of Formal. Dashy's not trying hard enough. Envoy's not playing good enough. Fire Sender. He's a terrible coach. Relax. Like, if you haven't realized it yet, knock on your head and open your eyes. What is OpTic built on? They've been built on creating content. They've been doing it for years. They've been streaming scrims for as long as we can remember. And they've performed. Like, they've won championships more than almost any other organization. They won COD champs back in IW. Everyone's always going to find something to complain about and throw at OpTic to say they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing that. Oh, you're throwing away all your strats by streaming scrims. Honestly, if you haven't seen it, respawns are a lot of just trading, being in the right place at the right time. Yeah, there's some breakouts and strategies and control and hardpoint and where players go, but at the end of the day, it comes to winning gunfights and slaying, and that's where they lost to Florida. Like, OpTic are such a good team that they should have gotten smoked 3-0'd by Florida. Florida outslayed them heavily in that series, but OpTic's skill level and the strategies in their positioning kept them alive in every single map. The way that they got outslayed, like every single one of them almost dropped a negative KD, and the guys on Florida were frying. The slaying differential should have resulted in like a 100-point club in hardpoint, a 6-2 in search, and a 3-1 or 3-0 in control. OpTic still battled in that series and sent it a long way because they are so talented, because their positioning strategies and communication is so good. Do they need to work? Yes, they do. Like, they got beat twice. They know that. They know that they need to bounce back and figure some things out. But when you look back on it, they played Florida tight the second day. Should they have a sense of urgency and should you be worried? Absolutely. Absolutely, OpTic need to be fearful and have a fire underneath their ass heading into the Stage 2 Major. Like, we'll talk about the matches coming up shortly, but it's push come to shove for OpTic because they are in grave danger of not starting in the winner's bracket. And we know how hard it is to make a loser's bracket run in this league. Everyone's saying that they need to figure something out. They do. But everyone complaining and going crazy and calling for all these changes and stop streaming, stop creating content. You guys are wasting your time. Like, there's so much that they can do. They're not going to play for 24 hours straight and have scrims and 8s available 24 hours straight. Like, they schedule their scrims, they grind, they get coached, they review VOD, they do that for 8 hours, then they have their lives to go back to. NFL teams aren't on the field for 24 hours a day. Like, they're practicing, then they go out and go about their everyday life. They know what they have to do. They know the coaching they need to go through. They know the amount of time that they need to put in to reviewing VOD, creating strategies, and figuring things out about matchups. And they do that. Then after that, they make you happy as fans because you would be complaining if they didn't release the OpTic podcast every week. You would be complaining if they didn't show up in Hector's VOD and vlogs. You know you would be. And they have the time to do that after they do their job. It's not like they're just sitting and like watching Netflix all day. No, they're scrimming, they're going over VOD, and they're learning just like every other team in the league. And they also have their free time. Fans need to settle down and stop going so crazy. That's a lot of the Barracks news and notes from around the league. And I guess we can touch on some Challenger stuff if you guys want to. The biggest thing, I mean, Wester and NYSL Academy, like, they're cracked. We know that. These guys, I think that they have the biggest potential to have players in the CDL next. And other than that, I'm excited to see the Gen G 2.0 roster, where we have, I think, Major Maniac, Mox, Havoc, and Nagafin re-teaming. I love that squad. I love all those guys. I'm excited to see what they can do. And I would love to see every single one of them back in the CDL this year, if not expansion, which is hopefully next year. The elites have been crazy. It's brought a lot more CDL content to us from the Challengers League. And if you haven't paid attention to it, go check it out. The community streams from I Hold Shift are incredible. Like, him and those guys over there are bringing a lot of attention to the Challenger scene, and it's a lot of fun to watch. So if you're starving for more CDL content, go check that out, figure it out, and watch it. I guess that's all I'll touch on the Challenger scene as we're heading through the elites, as they kind of coincide with the stage of the CDL. And now it's time to talk about leading up to the major here. I don't think we're going to have any overkill reactions on the show this week because we have a lot to talk about. We have predictions to make, and we have to dive into some more topics. Plain and simple, as we're getting into it, the Stage 2 Major, it's next week. Teams need to show a sense of urgency because when you look at it, there's a lot at stake and a lot on the line in the final week here. I'm going to pull it up on the big screen, and we're going to look at what teams have to battle for. Take a look at the top of this screen here at the winner's bracket. Only the top 3 seeds from each group, Group A and Group B, will be in the winner's bracket. For those of you who are new to the Call of Duty League, there are 6 teams in Group A, 6 teams in Group B. The top 3 teams from each group get a bid into the winner's bracket, and the 1 seed from each group get an automatic bye in the first round where they don't have to play. What the winner's bracket means is this tournament is double elimination if you're in the winner's bracket. It's single elimination if you're down here in the loser's bracket. These teams right here, the Group A 5th 6 and the Group B 5th 6, when they compete against one another, whoever loses this first match, bye-bye. You're gone. You're out of the Stage 2 major, and you make $0. These teams, the 4th seed, they get an automatic bye through the first round. But other than that, if they play this match and lose, they're knocked out of the tournament right away. So you can see what is at stake and how monumental it is to be a top 3 seed in your group, because you have a chance at double elimination. Meaning if you lose this first matchup, you drop down here into the loser's bracket and you have another chance to make a run and can ultimately still make it into the finals. The 1 seed has the most confidence because they get a bye through the first round. And all they have to do, if they win 1 match, they're in the winner's final. All they have to do is win 2 matches to be the tournament final. And I hope we see a change this time around in Stage 2, where in this tournament final, they get a bigger advantage. Because in Stage 1, all that it was for the teams who made it through the winner's bracket, they got an extra veto, I think, or they got to pick the first ban of a map or a veto. That's not good enough. If they're going to keep it best of 9, as I welcome myself back here, if they're going to keep it a best of 9, what they have to do is just give the team coming out of the winner's finals a 1-0 advantage. Like, that's big. They start the series up 1-0, and we take it as is, and we play the best of 9. Getting an extra ban or the first pick and ban, like, that's not good enough for me. So as you can see, as I've touched on here, being top 3 in your group in this final week of Stage 2, it's huge because you get into the winner's bracket and you have the opportunity to lose 2 matches. You can lose the first, drop into the elimination bracket, and make a run through there. Let's take a peek at where teams stand and what chances that they have and what they have available here. Looking at Group A and Group B so far in this stage, we'll start with Group B because my face is in the way of Group A. The Dallas Empire are on top, but look at it. There is a 3-way tie for first right now in Group B. This is the group of death as we see it right now. Empire, Seattle Surge, Florida, all tied at 2-1. The Rocker have played huge, beating the Juggernauts in Chicago and Dallas, so they could have a cakewalk this final week. And then OpTic, they have 2 matches to play. They basically need to win both those to get into the top 3. Paris, yeah, they have their backs against the wall. This is going to be insane to watch for this battle for a top 3 seed into the winner's bracket, and I'll break it down as I go through my pick'em for the final week of Stage 2. Who would have thought that this was going to be the group of death headed into Stage 2? And who would have thought that this is how things were going to pan out? Seattle are showing up huge, and I love to see it. Love the guys over there, Octane, Looney, Pristini, Gunless. Florida are the team that I said it before, they're streaky. One day they'll get fried, and the next day they'll come out and absolutely dominate, and it's like, what are you guys doing? Can you show some consistency for me, please? The big 2 I want to highlight, it's Minnesota and OpTic. I feel like one of them can jump into the top 3 seed, and I just don't know who it's going to be. I'm going to take my face off the screen here as we can see Group A. I guarantee FaZe come out with the 1 seed. I think NYSL keep the 2 seed. And I really think that the London Royal Ravens, they've done it. They have put themselves in the winner's bracket, depending on the matchup that we see for them. But right now, I mean, with Paul X, they look really good. LA Thieves are going through some growing pains. You can't deny it. They're struggling. They need to show up and step up. They've had a week to recover. The Gorillas are getting smoked in this stage. Toronto have gotten close but haven't been able to finish it out. I pretty much take Group A as face value when I look at the Atlanta FaZe, Subliners, and Royal Ravens. I think they stay as they are, 1, 2, 3. The Subliners are one of my favorite teams in the CDL, to be honest. These guys are disgusting. I love the passion that they have, and it stems from a guy like Clayster. I like Group A, and I think the champion of Stage 2 is going to come from Group A. I think it's going to be NYSL or Atlanta FaZe. The Minnesota Rocker, I talked about it weeks and weeks ago. They're my dark horse team. I talked about it when they had their original roster, but now that they have Standy, they look so much better. They're my dark horse to take it and win it, or the Seattle Surge have been looking really good. It's been insane what these guys are doing, and that's how both groups shake down, and I have no idea what's going to happen. But as we can see, we know how important this final week of matches are, and you already know what we have to do. It's the LA Gorillas home series. We got to make our predictions, folks. We got to rock and roll and get into the week. We're going to scroll up so you guys can all see this with my face, and we're going to break these matches down. The first one I think is going to be extremely tight. Florida have looked really nice these past couple of weeks, but I think the way that Dallas are and how they have Krim in a leadership role, I think they adapt. I think it will be tight, and it comes down to search and destroy, and Dallas take it 3-2. This next match, the way that Seattle have been performing and the way that OpTic have been struggling, I really don't know. It's going to be extremely tight. OpTic have had to figure some things out. I think that it comes down to if they can slay and if they can't, and where the picks and bans fall ultimately. I'm going to come back to that one because I'm still deciding. We look forward here to the Ultra Royal Ravens. I think Ultra get a map, but London are just that good. I think that Paul X makes a huge difference on the map with everything that he has done and will continue to do with this team. He's shown up in the respawns, and he's been huge in S&D, despite the fact that London got 5-1, almost reverse swept, if you want to call it that, in the S&D. They were up 5-1 on Express against the Subliners, and then they just started frying. NYSL came back, and they won 6-5, and you see Clay, choke! Let's go! Like, I don't think that's going to happen again with London Royal Ravens. I like this squad, man. They're fun to watch, and I think they're going to be big. Like I said before, Atlanta FaZe aren't getting beat. I'm not choosing anyone to beat them until they lose. 3-0. LAG have not looked as good as they did in Stage 1. They haven't been clicking the way they did. They haven't been showing up and slaying and winning monumental gunfights on the map that matter and get you control. They haven't made the big plays. They get beat 3-0 by Atlanta FaZe. I believe it. This next one, while I have Florida drop into Dallas, I think that they're going to take it over Paris. Paris have struggled, and I don't like to see it. You see the face on Matty Marshall, a.k.a. Scraps. He's been hurting. Aqua's been the mainstay for Paris. He's been the guy that's frying. He needs some help. I think one of the guys that you need to help out is the rookie Fire. Like, when you look at Fire, he's played good, but he was kind of getting had this past week. When we take a look at the matchups from the Paris Legion, just to look at their sort of stats and where they sit and how everything pans out from the past week when they struggled. I mean, they've lost 3 straight. They've picked up 2 maps in those 3 losses. Fire and Classic are the 2 that need to help. Whoa! Hello! Alarm's going off. Got to wake up. Get ready to go to work. Sorry about that, folks. I'm going to make sure I turn that off. But Fire and Classic, they're the 2 guys that need to step up for this team. Like, Aqua has been there, and you know Scraps is going to play with the passion and perform. I don't think that happens. I don't think it makes a big enough of a difference in Florida win at 3-1. This one is one that I want to highlight. I think this goes the distance, and this is big because this plays for a top 3 seed in Group B, in my opinion. Seattle versus Minnesota. I just think the way that Standy has been playing, I think he wins the SMG battle against Pristini and Looney. Straight up, he has been stellar. He has performed, he has shown up, and he has been incredible to change and turn around this Minnesota Rocker team. Standy is literally going to be the difference maker in this series. I think that Minnesota win it 3-2 over Seattle. No question, NYSL, in my opinion, they're the second best team in the league right now. I think they 3-0 the Toronto Ultra. Plain and simple, I think that's how it happens. I just think that they're good enough. I think NYSL are disgusting. I don't know if Hydra's ever going to find a spot on this roster. Because the way that they're playing and how they're competing, they're at the top of the CDL. They're one of the best teams there, and they're showing no signs of stopping. Atlanta FaZe, London Royal Ravens, this may be the closest matchup for Atlanta FaZe on the year. Oh, I mean, they're just so good at S&D. I think if anything, London pick up one of the respawns. It's either control or hardpoint, and I don't think they're going to win both. FaZe maybe drop a map here. It might be a 3-0. This next one, it's a toss-up. Like, both teams need to find themselves, I think, with the way that they're playing. They're on each other's level. And I think that all of you can respect that. I think that the Gorillas are a better S&D team, but I thought that when they played Toronto last week and they got smoked on raid by Toronto. I think the way that they've been performing and the way that they're kind of have some time and how Slasher can take over and Kenny can just be so special on the map, I think I have to lean towards the LA Thieves. This final marquee matchup of the weekend, oh Lord, it stresses me out. Because I want to say Dallas smokes OpTic, but then I also want to say OpTic are going to come out firing because they lost to Dallas in the Stage 1 major, and this is going to be possibly for OpTic to have a winner's bracket position. They're going to be playing and grinding as hard as they can. But I think Dallas are just the better team. I think they come out and beat OpTic 3-1. I think OpTic take it against Seattle in the first matchup of the weekend. When you look at Seattle, I really think the way they're playing, they can win either of these matchups against Minnesota and OpTic. If they have a better chance, I think it's against OpTic the way that they're performing, to be honest. A lot of people aren't going to be happy. But I mean, OpTic have certainly had some kinks, and they need to figure some things out. Let me tell you, these predictions, they're subject to change. I'm going to look at them 100 times before the matches start Thursday, probably today. I'm recording this podcast on Wednesday the 31st. By the time it gets up, we could be seeing some matches. Right now, we're going to lock it in. Those are my predictions for the week. Make sure that you guys put your predictions in and pick them. Like, you have a chance to win a Scuff Impact, one of these bad boys right here. Shout out to Scuff Gaming. You have an opportunity to win those, an Astro Gaming headset, and a CDL team kit. If you do well enough throughout Pick'em, through this stage, into the major, and you're sitting atop the leaderboard, you have that opportunity. Make sure you do it. Make sure you fill out your bracket. Join a leaderboard, the rotation with ZHack. The password is just rotation. Simple as that. The show's coming to an end, guys. We're winding down here. We talked about a lot of good stuff. I think the biggest point that I made, it's talking about the bracket. Like, we have so much to battle for this final week before the Stage 2 major. Look at all this right here. Look at how these groups shape up. There can be changes in Group B. Anyone can make a shift into that 3 spot, possibly even the 2 spot if Seattle lose both of their matches. We're fighting for a winner's bracket spot, and that gets you 2 shots at elimination as we look at the bracket for the Stage 2 major. If you make it into a top 3 spot in your group, you're in the safe zone here. You can lose one of these matches, drop down into the loser's bracket, and still make a run. If you're down here in the loser's bracket, you're pretty much doomed. You got to win or go home. You have to win out and be on your A game the entirety of the tournament. It's been a long time since we've seen a crazy loser's bracket run. I hope we get to see one in this major because they're a lot of fun to watch. and be sort of a fly on the wall. But the biggest point that I made this week on the rotation with Z-Hack is the seeding. If you make it top 3, you're in good shape. But at the end of the day, the Atlanta FaZe are probably going to win back-to-back majors. Nobody has stopped them so far. I don't see anybody stopping the Atlanta FaZe. Until they show a sign of weakness and until they get beat, I'm not picking against them. I've said it time and time again. My early prediction for the Stage 2 major, it's the Atlanta FaZe. They're going to win it all. They're probably going to do it in dominating fashion. Probably a 5-2, 5-1. They're crazy good. It's incredible. That is the final topic that I want to touch on before we have one more. Everybody's favorite segment of the week. You already know what I'm leaning towards. You know what I'm teasing. Let's hop right into it. Heading into the final week of Stage 2 before the major. Who's the best in the game? This week, we're giving it up to a rookie. You guys already know I've mentioned his name time and time again throughout the podcast today. He's impressed us all. We've all talked about it on Twitter. The kid might be hacking, if you know what play I'm referring to on Raid, when he picks up the 4-piece with the wall bang, with the Diamatti. It was mind-blowing. Who's the best in the game? It's Standy. The kid comes up from the challenger scene, gets questioned by the entire league when the Minnesota Rocker make the roster change to bring him on. And he said, "Shh, I'm nasty on the sticks." Bam! Get fried. Standy is the best in the game, and I'm going to break it down for you. He's a team player. You heard it in all of his interviews. He said, "I'm just so happy to have the opportunity to work with the Minnesota Rocker, play with these guys. I'm surrounded by a lot of good teammates. They have all welcomed me, made me feel comfortable, allowed me to step into the role I need to be, and from there on, I can just fry." The kid has a 1.05 in hardpoint. A 1.67 in S&D. He was frying OpTic, making them look like scrubs. In control, he's making monumental plays around the map. He's influencing spawns. He's picking up big kills, rotating, making good play calls. The KD's under a 1.0, but I don't care because it's the intangibles that matter. Standy has proven himself to be a staple name in the Call of Duty League, and that is why he's the best in the game this week. Heading into the Stage 2 major, Standy is disgusting. I look for him to continue to perform at the top tier echelon level that you see in the Call of Duty League. He's embarrassed the teams that he's played. It's not like he's playing bottom-level teams. He stepped up against OpTic and Dallas to help his team get a win. He's going to be in the CDL for a long time. Mark my words. He has been incredible. If you haven't seen him play, tune into a Minnesota Rocker match this week. Standy is the best in the game headed into the final week of Stage 2 before the major. Like I said, there's a lot of important stuff to happen this week in Stage 2. We're going to see a lot of shifts in the standings and who those top 3 seeds will be to get a winner's bracket spot from Group A and Group B. If you aren't tuning in to the CDL this week, you're out of your mind. Watch it on YouTube. Go get your drops with your watch time. Fill out your bracket to have an opportunity to win a Scuff controller, to win an Astro headset, and to win a CDL team pack. There's going to be a lot of great matches this week, and I'm advocating for the CDL. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm going to be watching every day, even though I'm at work, and you guys better be too. Lots of crazy matchups. There are bound to be highlight plays, crazy comebacks, insane upsets. That's just what the Call of Duty League is, baby. And that's why we love it so much, and that is why we talk about it every week on the rotation with Z-Hack. You know where to find us: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at ZHack16 so you can give me your opinion, question, comments, and concerns. and make sure you share the podcast with your friends, and let's grow the Call of Duty League. That's going to do it for this week's episode of The Rotation with Z-Hack. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace!